pain and bitterness that's not transformed will be transferred. So you can fake yourself out. You can tell yourself a story that, oh, I don't need to deal with that. I don't need to. Again, that's fine. And that worked for me for a while. It worked for me for 40 plus years. 40 years it worked. Oh, see? And it would reaffirm my story. See? I don't need to deal with that crap. I don't need to deal with it when I got molested. I don't need to deal when this guy did that to me. I don't need to deal with this, until the 800-pound gorilla starts to lash out at Kathy, at my daughter, and I'm like, oh, hell no. Nope. Nope. I am not putting my wife or my kid in jeopardy when I can't control myself. Stop the press, hold the phone, don't collect $200. Like, Big Poppy needs help, like, immediately.
Welcome to the EQ for Entrepreneurs podcast. Like most business owners, you already know you need good business and marketing strategies to scale and be profitable. But at some point, you've hit the dreaded wall where you feel stuck and frustrated. EQ for Entrepreneurs is for business owners and leaders who are honest enough to admit that they just might be the ones holding their business back and are brave enough to change that.
We're Noble and Kathy, and every week we're having candid conversations about all things emotional intelligence and how growing that has allowed us to get out of our own way and is radically transforming both our businesses and our personal lives. This is the secret sauce strategy for modern entrepreneurs who are tired of hustling without seeing results and want to grow a business and a life that they love.
What is going on, entrepreneurs, leaders, and influencers? Welcome to episode 37, how to go from reacting to responding. For those of y'all that are watching on YouTube, I've got my notes in front of me here. So if you see me looking down, that's what I'm doing. This is a recording of a live training that I was doing recently with some of the folks that we coach. And the question came up about the difference between reacting and responding and how to go from reacting to responding. Reacting is more where the emotions are in control and making the decisions for you. Responding is where you are in control of your emotions, able to still feel them, able to still get the signals and the insights from those emotions, but not be controlled by those emotions. So, and learning to manage your emotions and learning to manage yourself while feeling elevated emotions or intense, strong emotions is a very critical skill. And as you guys know, obviously in business, that it's a very critical skill, because I think as entrepreneurs, we can get to that spot, many times throughout the day. So before we jump into it here, I also want to let you all know about a resource that we've created for you guys. We recently did a poll among entrepreneurs, and 91% of them said that they either have or are currently experiencing the entrepreneur emotional roller coaster, right? So, 1 minute you're ready to conquer the world. The next minute you're wondering what on earth you're doing. And then the next minute you're going to be the next, John Maxwell, or the next, Steve Jobs, or whoever your folks are that inspire you. And then the next minute, you're crawled up in a ball in the corner, questioning your purpose in life, right? So, and it can happen many times throughout the day, this kind of emotional roller coaster. And or you got a contract that got denied, you lost some customers, or you received some haters online, or right, all the different things that entrepreneurs face. And it can be an up and down thing. And so this resource you can knock out in about 30 minutes and learn the skill necessary to slow that roller coaster down, get out of your own way, get unstuck, and get back in the driver's seat of your business. So you can download that resource now at eqforentrepreneurs.com/roller coaster. Again, that's eqforentrepreneurs.com/roller coaster. And also, one last thing here, if you are getting value from this podcast, we would super duper appreciate it if you would subscribe and review it. And please share on social media as well. All right. Hope you enjoy this episode.
Responding versus reacting. This is coming from somebody, and this is coming from somebody who, as my monkey turned into a gorilla, my emotional monkey turned into a gorilla, the bigger that gorilla got, and this is literally what happened to me, the bigger that emotional gorilla got, the less I was able to process. And to the point where, and this is no sanguine, I'm not trying to embellish, I'm not trying to be sanguine, I'm not trying to do hype. Literally, there would be a trigger and I would immediately react. There'd be a trigger and I would immediately throat punch. There'd be a trigger and I would immediately punch, literally, I mean, there was no processing whatsoever. And it was like, in the doctor's office when the doctor hits your knee and you're bing, right? And there's no, because I'm telling you, I can't tell you how long, maybe, 6 months, a year, Kathy was like, dude, what is your deal? Like, why are you just like, okay, I got whatever your trigger is, I got it, but dude, can you think about it for a second before you absolutely go Hulk on us? Like, where's your, and I'm like, babe, I genuinely have no idea how to do that. I don't know how to go from when my knee gets striked, I don't know how to do it. I'm telling you, I'm a pretty smart guy and I genuinely have no idea how to do that. Well, and literally what the difference was, as I started to grow and heal emotionally, started to become aware of my emotions, started to and please don't think that I've gone from like kindergarten to PhD. I'm talking like I went from kindergarten to maybe I'm in third grade right now. You know what I mean? Maybe fourth grade. So I'm still very much in this journey, but I tell you, here's what's been a game changer. Just in the past 2.5 years now of intentionally working on my emotions, I can tell you, I mean, I haven't gone Hulk mode. I mean, since before I started working on my EQ. Which is a huge breakthrough. So what that tells me is my 800-pound gorilla is maybe at 600 pounds now. He's lost a couple hundred pounds, right? And so, but the thing is, like, there was not some specific thing that I did, like, okay, like, because that's the by definition, a trigger is not something that you prep, right? I mean, by definition, it's out of the blue. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can't, by definition, you can't plan for a trigger because you don't know when it's coming. And so that's why, as you heal, because again, here's the analogy. Like, again, when I have King Kong on my back, King Kong is a predator, right? And King Kong is hyper aware of anything around that is going to cause unsafety or a threat. And so anything that makes King Kong unsafe, boom, immediately lashes out. Well, that's kind of what a trigger is, right? A trigger, let's see, is this true? A trigger, I think another aspect of a trigger is that it makes us feel unsafe. It sets us off our, like, it's unexpected, or the trigger is unexpected, and something that's unexpected can create unsafety. And again, if your gorilla is as big as mine, anything that causes something to feel unsafe in your world, there's no, well, man, let me, how do I feel? Let me think. No, it's attack mode. It's let me gorilla stomp this until I feel safe again. And so what has helped is not something like, okay, let me work on this aspect of EQ. It's just been as I have been healing and growing intentionally in these different areas over time. Now, again, it wasn't like, oh man, on Monday I realized it, and so I'm Tuesday, I'm healed. Like this has been a journey, but since I have been on this journey and really have started to pay more attention to the emotions and feelings and how am I feeling and how are you feeling and why are you feeling this way, and writing stuff down and that kind of thing. Why am I feeling angry right now? Or why am I feeling upset? Or why am I? And here's the best time to do this is when you're not triggered, obviously. So the best time to work on your feelings and emotions is when you're not triggered, right? The best time to work on your feelings and emotions is when you feel safe. In my opinion, just my experience, it's my ability to process my emotions, this is money, decreases exponentially if I don't feel safe. Right? So if I'm in the middle of a fight, if we're fighting, it's very tough for me to process how I'm feeling, right? Because I'm preparing, okay, Jay's about to throw a roundhouse kick at me. Well, how do I feel about this roundhouse kick that I see coming to my face right now, right? That's not, for me, I'm not developed enough yet to be able to do that. So for me, I have to really do my emotional work when I'm feeling safe and there's no threats around. And then, this was money too, man, is the feelings game. So that we deal with our family, even Elena, all three of us did this. And we did it for a handful of months, maybe 3 months, 6 months. And just the 3 to 6 months we did it was very, very helpful. We probably should still keep doing it from me, if nobody else. But, in Doug Weiss's book, Emotional Fitness, one of the exercises he recommends is in the morning, so 2 times a day. So whether it's the morning or lunchtime and then the evening, you pick an emotion. One of you picks an emotion, and somebody give me an emotion. Put it in the chat log or unmute yourself. Just give me an emotion. Love. Okay, Alex and Eileen, that's great. So love. So now I have to say, I feel love when I am cuddling on the couch with my family. Okay, then I also now I have to keep going. So now the first time I remember feeling love was, crap, man, you guys got me playing this stinking emotional game and I'm still working on my skills here. Man, the first time, what's interesting is I remember an emotion through a photo. So I don't know if that's cheating or not, and I was a little kid, super little kid when this happened, but I was like maybe 2 or 3 years old. Man, I can't believe this is crazy. Here you go. This is crazy how this is working out here. The first time I feel love, and again, this is weird because I remember it in a photo, so I'm remembering the photo, which is making me feel an emotion. So again, I don't know if this is cheating or not, but when I was like a couple years old, maybe 2, 3 years old, and my dad climbed in the crib with me. He literally 6'4", 208. Well, I mean, he maybe not have been 280 at the time because the crib would have completely collapsed, but maybe he was 250, and he climbed in the crib with me. So that was the first time I felt love. Okay, now the other aspect of this game is I can't use a scenario that involves you. So let's say, for example, if I say sad, and I say, I feel sad when Kara told me that she didn't like my hair, right? Because now me and Kara are going to get in a throwdown. Okay, so that's not, you can't use the other person in your sharing of that emotion because it's not about the other person. It's not, you can't use them in the example. Or angry. Oh man, Moses made me feel angry when, he said he didn't like my beard or whatever, right? I can't, because now he gets defensive and now right? So it has to be, it can't, the description of the emotion cannot be about the other person. Because it's about the exercise, it's not about the other person. And here's the reason, because I'm like, man, why did you compare the two and the guy, they say that so the first expression of the emotion is like a recent time. So the most recent time I felt sad or felt love or felt anxious, and I think of a recent time. So, okay, let's do another one. So I felt sad, or I feel sad when I remembered my buddy on Memorial Day who got killed in action in Afghanistan with Delta Force, right? So boom. So that's when I felt sad. The first time I felt sad, my first memory of feeling sad was, so the first time I felt sad, my first middle school baseball game that my dad missed. And I was looking for him in the stands. My mom, I heard her crazy screaming all the time because she's that fan. But I looked up, and that was cool to have my mom up there, but I looked for dad, and dad wasn't there. So that was the first time I felt sad. So now it's Alex's turn, right? And then it's Joey's turn. And then it's, right? And everyone goes on the family, and no one can judge anybody else's comments. You can't, oh, Alex, hey, no, that's messed up, dude. That doesn't work. That doesn't count. You know what I mean? You can't, right? Because feelings are not right or wrong. They are what they are. But the reason why you do the beginning and the end, a current time and an early time, is because you're building your mental file for that particular emotion. Here's a good one. And this is true. This is real stuff here. Prior to maybe 2 or 3 years ago, prior to my emotional growth journey, I would have no idea what anxious even feels like. I'm being honest with you. Jose says, Joey says, Moses Kira said anxious. Someone define that for me, because I have no idea what that even means, right? Literally, that was me 3 years ago. So by giving a current time and an early time, it helps begin to build an emotional and mental file for how that particular emotion feels. And that's the purpose of going. And they like to keep, so when you do the first time I remember feeling anxious was, they like it to be before high school. So high school or earlier, so as early, from, birth to high school is what they like to keep that window in for the earliest time. So they like you to go back as early as possible. And I'll tell you, man, we did this again for probably 3 to 6 months with Kathy and Elena, and Elena got to a point where she was nailing emotions and feelings quicker than I can. You can still see, like, it still takes me some thought and intention. Okay, what, anxious or sad? Okay, so it's definitely an area that I still got to work on, but it's a skill. But the more familiar that the more you start building familiarity around these different emotions, the better you'll be at naming and identifying and processing. And what happens is, because see, here's the other thing that causes anxiety and stress. And the gorilla, my Hulk to come out, my 800-pound gorilla at the time. What else was causing that was the brain. So this is physiological neuroscience here. The brain is a master filer and organizer. Master at okay, this is a bottle, this is a mug, this is a cell phone, my pencil, my pen, when the brain knows where it is, it millions of organizations of data every second. Well, here's where the brain, this is what causes the brain anxiety. And when it causes the brain anxiety, it causes us anxiety. If the brain can't file something, it starts to trip. When the brain can't file something, like, okay, boom, an emotion pops up. So when an emotion pops up, oh, here's an emotion that just popped up. And my brain is like, dude, I got nothing. It's going through the file banks, all the file, and it says file not found. The brain starts to like, oh, crap. Oh, what do we do with this thing? Is it a threat? Is it safe? Is it not safe? What do I do with this thing? And it just bounces, beep, 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 bouncing around, and it causes stress and anxiety. And God forbid, and again, this is where I was at, y'all. This is why the 800-pound gorilla. Now, oh, here comes another emotion into the screen. Oh, now we got 2 emotions. What's going on here? Don't know what these are. Oh, crap. Again, God forbid, a third one. Oh, snap. We got, whoa. right? And that's the thing with emotions. It doesn't come in a nice, neat, oh, this is nicely packaged. It could be when you got your butt beat when you were 4 years old, and that emotion hit you like a Mack truck, and it came from nowhere. When you got abused, me molested when I was 5 years old, that comes out of nowhere. Whoa, this thing what? And I'm getting hit in the head with this emotion. And I'm like, what? And my brain's like, dude, what do we do with this thing? What's going on? This is not safe. I don't feel safe, right? And so that can cause a lot of emotion inside of us. So the sooner, honestly, it's like a video game. It's like the sooner we can name and identify, boom, we shoot that target down. The sooner we can name and identify this, boom, we shoot that target down. The sooner we can name and identify, boom, we shoot that target down, right? And now our brain can file it. Oh, that's this emotion. Okay, that's anger. Okay, let's put that one there. This is a rejection. Let's put that one there. This is frustration. Let's put that one there. This one is devastation. Let's put that one there. This is abuse. Let's put that one there. And even though they're painful emotions, if you can identify them and name them, now the brain can start going to work on them. Even if they're painful and they're negative and they're bad and they're intense and, again, none of us leave our childhood unscathed, right? We can all share our mile-long list of the traumatic experiences that we all had. And so that's why. And so here's what happens if you, again, like me, I could, you want to talk about making money, I could be a multi-millionaire on selling books on how to self-sabotage and how to avoid and how to stuff emotions. You know what I'm saying? I could make some money, man, on how to do that, right? And so, but that's not what I want to be known for. So what happens is, you've got all these, and I say me, I've had all these traumatic emotional injuries that I've experienced in my life. And I just, because I've been in survival mode and I have not known how to name and identify, I just immediately like, oh crap, I don't know what this thing is, like, because it's almost terrifying because I don't know what to do with this thing. Immediately put that sucker in the basement. Well, when your injuries start to pile up in the basement, pretty soon, like it's busting at the seams, right? And that 800-pound gorilla has been injury. That 800-pound gorilla is 800 pounds of injuries, y'all. 800 pounds of injuries. 800 pounds of stuffing and avoiding. 800 pounds of no triaging of injuries or emotions. 800 pounds, months and years and potentially decades of injuries that have not been addressed, that have not been dealt with. And we wonder why we have issues today, y'all. We wonder why we're stuck. We wonder why we have issues in our marriage and parenting, and why we're repeating certain behaviors and attitudes, why we're lashing out at our coworkers or our company, our organization, our team, right? We have all of this stuff that we've just been, all these injuries that we haven't dealt with. So here's the thing is that, again, and I say this, not say every episode, but almost every episode, pain and bitterness that's not transformed will be transferred. So you can fake yourself out. You can tell yourself a story that, oh, I don't need to deal with that. I don't need to. Again, that's fine. And that worked for me for a while. It worked for me for 40 plus years. 40 years it worked. Oh, see? And it would reaffirm my story. See? I don't need to deal with that crap. I don't need to deal with it when I got molested. I don't need to deal when this guy did that to me. I don't need to deal with this, until the 800-pound gorilla starts to lash out at Kathy, at my daughter, and I'm like, oh, hell no. Nope. Nope. I am not putting my wife or my kid in jeopardy when I can't control myself. Stop the press, hold the phone, don't collect $200, like Big Poppy needs help, like immediately. Another reason why I'm so passionate about this is because this topic, it almost took my life. You know what I mean? I would have, if I hadn't done that, I would have absolutely left Kathy and Atlanta, because I would have been scared for them, not me. I would have been scared because I couldn't control myself. Like, I mean, I'm literally acting like a crazy guy. Like I don't know when I'm going to get triggered. And when I do get triggered, I go like, I'm losing my freaking mind. I'm going nuts. I don't want to be around my wife and daughter when I'm acting this way. This is it's scaring me. Right. And so, man, thank God. I mean, this journey has absolutely been transformative for me personally. And if it can help other people, and that, again, 85 zillion minute long answer to that's how I went from reacting to responding, was through some of this, this awareness and being aware. And here's the thing, talking about it, the more Kath and I have talked about emotions and feelings and all that stuff, it's building my language. It's building my verbiage, my grammar for, again, I didn't know anything, y'all, about this stuff. Zero. And so I didn't know the ABC. I didn't know how to spell fear. I didn't know how to spell anger. I didn't know how to spell rejection. I didn't know how to spell people pleasing. I didn't know how to spell addiction. I didn't know how to spell these things. And so, talking about it and reading, oh man, okay. So if this happened to me when I was a child, and I'm like, whoa. And so now, and here's the thing, I didn't even remember either one of those things. So, because that's another survival mechanism of the brain with serious trauma. Sometimes it will not even allow it to be remembered. So in that counseling setting, I felt safe and the Lord, all that stuff. And so he brought up those two events in my life that I did not even remember. And now, in summary of all this stuff, those were two very, very significant emotional events in my life that I never dealt with. I never got healing over. And so boom, as soon as I was able to get healing in those areas, I was able to face them, identify them and face them and get healing in those areas. Now I don't feel that way anymore. I don't have that rage that comes in, because as a kid, I couldn't control, right? And you start taking on, oh, it was my fault. I'm the, at 5 years old, that wasn't my fault. You kidding me? Well, I didn't, you know what I'm saying? And so, but again, the stories, right? Survival stories, and like, oh, it was my fault. Somehow I probably caused this. So once it got healed in those areas, I don't have that rage anymore. I don't have that anger. I don't have that visceral response. And as soon as I realized where that connection, where that came from, boom, God was able to work in it. God was able to heal that. And now, boom, I don't have that rage anymore, that disdain and that kind of thing. So, and that's just one example there. I've got a financial example. I've got overeating is another one. I watched my dad, how he coped. His coping mechanism as an ER doctor was to overeat. He overate all the time. But I didn't, I don't know. I didn't think like, oh man, my dad's really overeat. Like I never thought about that. Like just, this is what he did. When he got home from work, he just would always eat. He was always eating. He was always working on projects. And guess what I learned? Guess what I do? When I get stressed or emotional, guess what I do? Anything I can stick in my mouth. So I know that's still an area that I have to work on. It's an emotional thing. It's not because I don't like PT. I love PT. There's an emotional thing that I have not faced yet, that I have not gotten healing on yet, which is why I'm still struggling in that area of my weight. So, but I know that I just, as soon as I face that and am willing to deal with that and confront that, I know that I will be healed, and then I will be able to lose weight. And so otherwise, I mean, look, the cycle, right? Oh, I lose 15 pounds, I gain it all back. I lose 10 pounds again, right? So there's so many different examples that I could share with you guys. But the point is pain and bitterness that's not transformed will be transferred. And so when those things pop up, give yourself the freedom and the space and the safety to work through that stuff, to work through it. Now, here's the thing. It may hit you in the middle of dinner. Okay, well, maybe you can't, hey, babe, I got to take the next 20 minutes to go knock this out. No, right? So you may say, okay, self, okay, note to self, this emotion. And you may say, hey, babe, I just got slammed with an emotion. So that way your spouse is not thinking that it's them. Because that's another money thing too. Hey, babe, I just got slammed with emotion from when I was a kid, or, whatever, da, da, da. And so I don't want you to think that there's anything between us. I've just got to work through some stuff. So maybe after dinner, I know we were planning on going to watch a movie or whatever. I'm going to need some time to not to go through this or whatever. Or maybe, hey, later on tonight, I'm going to need to work, or next week, but schedule it, make sure, because here's what happens. Again, PhD in avoiding and stuffing. What I would do is I would just kick it down the road. Oh, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll face that emotion tomorrow. I'll face that. And again, again, PhD in avoiding and rationalizing rational lies, telling myself rational lies about, oh yeah, I'll get to that next week, that emotion. Well, if you keep kicking it down the road too, so you want to just make sure that you at some point you schedule it and you face it and you deal with it and allow yourself to feel the pain of that emotion or the whatever. I'm using maybe a negative example, but you allow yourself to feel those emotions, work through, journal, write all that stuff down. And, so for me, one of the things is write a letter to that guy, right? Write a letter of all the emotions of how I feel and felt about that guy when I was 5 years old, right? If I was able to, lives in another country right now, but write exactly how I feel about this guy, everything, every emotion, every feeling, write it all down. And then once you write all that down, okay, God, I'm giving, allow yourself to feel each of those emotions surrounding that event. And then, pray, for me, pray about, okay, God, please help me work through these emotions. Again, and maybe set a clock, a timer. Okay, I'm going to give myself a minute to feel each of these emotions: anger, frustration, rage, furiousness, rejection, disappointment. Give yourself a minute. Set a clock, a timer. Okay, I'm going to 1 minute to feel rage right now. Timer goes off. Okay, 1 minute to feel anger right now. Okay, what's anger feel like? Okay, boom. 1 minute to feel rejection right now. All right, boom. Right, and you start working through each of those emotions, and then when you're done, if you and maybe so at that point, maybe you need to do something physical. Go for a run, punch a punching bag, take a baseball bat and swing it at the punching bag. Something to get, because there's a physiological thing too that helps to go, again, do some push-ups, jumping jacks, something, because again, stress and anxiety stay in the body. Like it's a physiological, it's, it can stay, it can manifest in the body. So you want to do something physical as well. And then when you're all done, you're working through stuff. If you feel like, maybe light that, all those emotions and stuff on fire, burn it, throw it in the trash, get rid of it. Okay, boom. You have made, now all that to say that does not mean that you've worked through all of that experience, because again, a month later, the next week, you may get slammed again. But here's the cool thing, at least for me in my experience, each time I've gotten slammed, it gets less and less and less and less. So the power, again, the rage, the anger against those guys who molest me or whatever has decreased. So it didn't go all the way overnight, but it each time I worked through it's gotten less and less and less and less. And so, and ultimately you want to get to a point where I can talk about that and not feel anything. So now, boom, I can fairly easily talk about that stuff now, those two instances, for example, and I don't get any like, oh, I got to go punch someone in the face now. I don't feel that anymore. So that lets me know that I'm growing in that particular area. You know what I mean? So anyway, give yourself grace and patience along this journey, and just be intentional. Again, be intentional, because even today, y'all, I'm finding that my defaults are still very much very much in there. Very much my default, I want to just stuff or I want to avoid. So even 2 or 3 years into this journey, my defaults are still very much in there. And, oh, here comes an emotion. Oh, hey, don't even deal with it, man. Stuff it, avoid it. Like, oh, hold on now. Hold on. Right. So, and sometimes I catch myself and sometimes I haven't caught myself. You know, I'm still working on this stuff. Right.